Hi folks, it's Nick back in the chair, and we're on the ZX Spectrum, and we're looking at Nigel Mansell's Grand Prix, as you can see by the title. Published by Martech Games in 1988, also come out on the 8-bit systems like the Amstrad CPC and the Commodore 64. I'm not sure if it's attached to Nigel Mansell's World Championship Racing on the Amiga, because that was by Gremlin, but that's something for maybe you to look up, but I don't think it was. It's 8-bit racing. We're in the championship of 1988 or 1987, I presume. So this is before Nigel Mansell became world champion in 92, so I guess it's not connected to championship racing then. That answers that question. So let's put in my racing name. All these races are made up. So I'll be Nick. I'll be related to Penelope Pitstop here. So we go for Nick Pitstop. Well, when you play games like this on 8-bit systems on the Spectrum, you have to compare it to Checkered Flag, which is a lot earlier, and Pitstop, and also Continental Circus. So I'll be interested to see how this one compares with those. And also to a lesser degree WEC Le Mans, but I just wanted to compare it like for like with other Formula 1 games. So here we go. The engine sound isn't that impressive. So we're in Brazil. Now, this is not like the pit straight on Brazil, because I think the Brazil enters it from the right, we're entering it on the left. We have up to 3 qualifying laps. If the car crashes off, that's the end of qualifying. This is all about getting your grid position. So as you can see, a lot of the screen is made up of, well, this dashboard thing, but then we've got a chase view as well. So it's 2 views fighting for supremacy. A little bit weird. On the bottom right, you can tell it's manual gears. I'm currently in 6th gear, gone to 5th gear, trying to slow down on the corners. Rear view mirrors, which is quite nice, right and left. Well, left rear view mirror and right rear view mirror. And they actually work during the race, so that's interesting. That's a good bit of coding. But, yeah, the scenery in the background, I don't know why they bothered. It's so small, but they shouldn't have done anything. It's mountains in Brazil. Okay. So, to my knowledge, this isn't much like the Sao Paulo circuit, Interlagos, at all, as someone tries to come past me. But this isn't a proper qualifying lap, because you have a warm-up lap first of all, to get used to the track, and then we're off and going again. Now, please don't comment below saying shame you didn't review the 128K version, because as I've said plenty of times before, although it probably won't make any difference, I owned a 48K Spectrum back in the day, so that's where my nostalgia comes. I'll only ever review the 128K version if for some reason I can't get the 48K version to work. And it's all about nostalgia really. I could try and play the best version ever, but then of course I'd just be playing PS4 games, and that's not what nostalgia and retro gaming is about. It's good to replay the games you played as a kid, otherwise why bother? Right, we're on our first qualifying lap here. So I was trying to keep it on the circuit, but I want a good grid position. I don't think we do a full grid like the normal Grand Prix of the time, which is like 26 positions. I think we're fighting for about 12. Now, you have to watch that the car doesn't overheat. You see my speed dial in the middle there. There's a big chunk of red. If it goes into there, I need to change up a gear. Speed is written very small. You can just about see it. It's got my lap time underneath. Best lap. And, yeah, I don't know what a good lap is round here. It's got best lap 114 seconds. So that's just under 2 minutes. I don't know why it hasn't done it divisible by proper minutes, but there we go. I can't quite remember what a good lap of Sao Paulo is. It's quite a short lap, so it's about 1 minute 10, 1 minute 8 even perhaps. Someone will let me know. It doesn't look much like a Formula 1 cockpit this, very square indeed. Using the primary colours. But have a look at the rear view mirrors when something comes behind us, which hopefully if we qualify for a race we'll see. Now, I'm not going to do all 16 race championship tracks, you'll like to know. I'll just try and do this track, which is in yellow. So I want to see if the next track is actually a different colour. I think it might be a different colour. I think each track varies a little bit to try and make it feel like you're going somewhere. But sound is pretty monotonous. Oh, there's a car behind us, as you might have spotted. But the animation on the wheels is good. But I have to remember this came out in 1988 and it probably feels like a game from 1984. I think it it wasn't too special at the time. At this sort of era, the Amiga was starting to get going, as well as the Atari ST, so the 16-bit machines were starting to have their heyday. It's not very comparable to that, so we just have to look at it as an 8-bit Spectrum game. Animates smoother than Pit Stop and smoother than Checkered Flag, but to my mind I don't think it's as enjoyable. I'm one of those who could skid the car, and there was obstacles to try and avoid on track. This hasn't got that at all. It's just trying to be a classic simulation racer as this guy attempts to come past. All the cars are the same colours, but that's what I would expect really. For it. So I'm trying to learn the track, but it is frustrating for me that it doesn't represent the true track and doesn't even attempt to. I'd like to get a cheat to skip forward to Monaco to see how that handles, but again I don't think it would be anything like it. It would probably look a bit like this but in a different colour, maybe white or something. In 1988 I don't know quite who won the Grand Prix, the championship, but it wasn't Nigel Mansell. Could have been Senna or Prost or someone like that. Mansell won it in 1992. Didn't defend it because Prost was going to the team and he didn't like him from his days in Ferrari, thought he'd dominate the team and well, they wouldn't get on. So he left to go to IndyCars in 1993 with the Newman Haas team, and he won that as well, so it was a good decision. Back-to-back wins, the Formula 1 Championship, then the IndyCar Championship. I don't know how this plays on the Amstrad CPC or indeed the Commodore 64. I said both of those have got a slight bit more use of colour. We span off there. But in 1988, Mansell's in the Williams, and I think we're right at the back, although we have qualified. Can't see anyone behind us. Right, we don't want to do a full start here. The lights are red. 10 seconds to the start, it says there. Are we going to have some breakneck action? I'm guessing all the cars are going to weave around like crazy, and in real Formula 1, if you keep weaving off your given line, you get banned for life. Or at least a 10-second go penalty or something. Here, they're probably not aware of the word go! And I've got off to the worst start ever. But it's good that this game forces you to do manual gears. You can't rely on auto gears, which is a bit of a... well, it might have helped me. But they've all driven off, which I think was really expected. Now it's all about trying to catch them up within 5 laps. As you saw at the start of the game, you can opt to have a 5-lap race, 10 race, all the way up to the full race distance. But can you imagine 76 laps of this? No, stop imagining it. You'll go really crazy. Could you drive around 76 laps of this? I don't think you could. It's not a hideously bad game, it's just not the best. But it's coded well, I give it that. Undulation, the frame rate is as to be expected on the Spectrum. It's doing quite a good job. Might be a bit better on the 128k. It might have a better engine sound, but once again I own a 48k Spectrum, so any comments about shame you didn't review it on this, shame you didn't review it on that, shame you didn't review it on another system, I'll ignore, because this isn't a review about the 128k version, this is a review about the 48k version. I'm sure they don't get that on Top Gear when they review a Ford Transit. Someone writes in and says, "Ah, shame you didn't do the Lamborghini Countach." Well, they weren't doing that. I think have I got my point across now? Probably. No, probably not. People still say it. So if you watch all these videos going on, look it down in the comments every now and again, and you're bound to get one person that says, "Pity you didn't do this, pity you didn't do that." Well, I say, bugger off. Ha! Right, let's go. Let's continue with this race. How are we doing? It says radio there. Do we get any radio messages? I think they messaged me something. Your race position was 7th, did it say? Need to stop for tyres. Well, I've just driven past the pit, so that isn't going to help. I can't stop in a 5-lap race. What's your favourite Formula 1 game on the ZX Spectrum? There you go. I've asked the question. Which one did you play the most? Come on. Get round here. I played WEC Le Mans before this one, but as I said, that is not Formula 1. Some great biking games on the Spectrum. Super Hang On, for to name one, and Enduro Racer's quite cool as well. Doesn't quite bring you the arcade action, does it? But it's okay. I wouldn't have been disappointed as a kid playing this for quite a while on my collection of tapes. But I am starting to get a little bit bored now, I have to say. 1988. Would have probably turned to the Amiga at this point. The race position is 6th, 7th again. The car behind me is number 4. So that is a good aspect of the game, that radio bit. But you can't deny it. It's only using a very small percentage of the screen because of this enormous cockpit thing, which is just in the way. Anyway, you either did like check a flag, a cockpit simulation, or a chase you simulation. This is trying to do oh, I crashed off. This is trying to do both at the same time, and for me, that doesn't quite work. So there's my, well, I didn't do very well, did I? I wasn't in the top 6, and back in the day, it was only 6 cars that actually scored points. I don't know why they got 9 for first place. That should have been 10, shouldn't it? We'll just have a quick look at track 2 to see if that's any different. It's San Marino. We'll take it out for a practice spin just to see if it's a different. Yeah, it is a different colour. It's all green, so you know pretty much what to expect in this game. Then each track is a different colour, and the scenery in the distance looks more or less the same. Yeah, and this probably isn't much like San Marino either. I'm not sure they still do a San Marino Grand Prix, do they? Well, they did in 1988 anyway. We'll park this car up here. So yeah, I hope you liked having a look at that one. That was Nigel Mansell's Grand Prix by Martech Games in 1988. Thanks for watching as always. Please remember to rate, comment and subscribe. Always like reading your comments, what you think about the game. Until next time, take care and goodbye.
Goodbye.